Hey, Bus Bench babes, are you sick and tired of all the doom and gloom you hear on the news every time you turn it on about the real estate market? Yeah, me too. Today, I'm going to talk all about the spring real estate market. It's heating up already. The temperatures outside might not tell you it's spring, but the real estate market for sure is heating up. So let's talk all about spring market conditions and what you need to know as a real estate agent to help better educate your clients. Let's dive in.
You're listening to the Girl, Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast, where we invite you to check your ego at the app, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready to dive into all things real estate marketing, social media, friendship, hardship, love, money mindset, and all the things that celebrate you as a badass boss babe.
We're here to encourage you, show up for you, give you a loving kick in the pants when you need it most, and be your soft place to land on the hardest of days. So pull up a seat at our table and get ready to be inspired and start living your best life by design.
Welcome to the Girl, Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast. We are so excited you're here.
Okay, girls, let's dive in. Hey, Bus Bench babes, Beth here doing a solo episode, and we are talking all about the spring market. I know. If you're here in Minnesota, you're rolling your eyes going, hello, Beth, there's 12 feet of snow on the ground. I get it. I have the same amount of snow here at my house too. However, the real estate market is really heating up. Our team has been feeling this ever since the week after Christmas. Phones started ringing, and everyone that we've been having this communication with for the last year or so that are like, well, maybe later, we're going to wait. Well, they all of a sudden all want to do stuff. And it's awesome, right? We saw so many people just sitting on the fence last year when rates started adjusting mid-year, and it really gave a lot of buyers and sellers pause and hesitation because they didn't quite know what they were going to do, where they're going to go, what's their payment going to be like. Maybe they can't even afford the payment that they could have earlier last year. And so now what we're seeing is a readjusting of expectations. Buyers are looking at things from like an affordability factor versus a price range factor, meaning a lot of buyers are like, well, I can afford X amount of dollars every month. Well, then what do you do with that number? Well, we're having our lenders like work those numbers backwards so we can come at a purchase price from that angle instead of saying, well, I used to be able to afford a $400,000 house and now I can't. Every scenario is a little bit different depending on what taxes are. Depending on how good someone's credit is going to affect their interest rate, all the things. And that's where our rockstar lenders come into play and help just guide the buyer in the right direction. And then we just take that ball and run from there. So what is actually happening? I'm going to talk a little bit about the country as a whole, but then give you some really micro numbers for what's happening here in the Twin Cities in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. So let's start with that. So in Minnesota, as of last month, we had about 1.5 months worth of inventory. That is still a really, really low number. I know the coasts are seeing throughout the country, but especially on the coast, they're seeing higher numbers than that. And I get that. I feel like in the Twin Cities and in the Midwest, we're really insulated from a lot of the big swings of real estate. And so inventory is still really low. That number had ticked up to like 1.9, right around 2 months for some areas, but on the whole, that number is hovering right now around 1.5. So as you know, anytime that number is under 5 or 6 months, the lower the number, the stronger of a seller's market that we're still in. That's not to say, as we all know, that there aren't some great wins for buyers out there right now. But inventory is low, and we still love seeing that number. The median sales price overall in our Twin Cities area went up 6.5% last year. So we were seeing huge gains earlier in the year. And then as the interest rates shifted mid-year, then that number started to taper off a little bit. So overall, and we didn't see double-digit numbers like we had the last few years, but having a 6.5% appreciation in the median sales price in the Twin Cities, I feel like that number is really rock solid. The other awesome thing we're seeing is sales prices are still hovering really close to 100% of asking price. As we all know, we'll just put my little blanket statement on it. As we know, the home has to be priced right from the get-go. But assuming that you're priced well, the average home year over year is still selling at 100% of asking. So new listings are down year over year, about 9.6%. And we are feeling that as a team. There is certainly less inventory, and we are really, really waiting for all those sellers that have been sitting on the fence to get off the fence and get their homes on the market and really get that ball rolling so we have more inventory for the spring market. The other awesome things that we have been seeing is with the uptick of buyer activity is that we're seeing multiple offers again. Great for sellers, not so great for buyers, but homes are not going into like mega multiple offers yet. So if you're only competing with a couple of offers, you certainly stand a much better chance than if you're competing against like 15 offers. But what I suspect, there's a lot of people sitting on two different sides, opposite sides of the fence. So there are those kind of doom and gloom naysayers that are saying, oh, interest rates are going to be up really high. Imagine 7%, all the way up to like 10%. So on the flip side of that coin, there is a whole nother school of thought of economists, mortgage professionals, a bunch of people like in the know about all things financial, that interest rates are going to come down. And we're seeing this. There is nothing that says they're going to be coming back down to like in the threes. I think that ship has for sure sailed. But it's really awesome. Our lender has been locking people in the fives on and off all of 2023. So some weeks rates go up into like the low sixes, but for several weeks they have been in the high fives, which is, it feels like we're really winning. Interest rates were as high, they were all the way up in the sevens. So having rates back down into the fives are fabulous. But something that I'm just going to make a bold statement is that if rates even go down just a little bit more, I think all those buyers that put the brakes on last year and that were sitting on the fence are going to get off the fence and get back in the game. Great. Yes. But what if that happens? I think that we're going to see another spring market where there's going to be a lot of multiple offers and it's going to be really crazy. I love this for sellers, but for buyers, I don't love this. I don't love when buyers have to basically give up the farm, give up inspections, do appraisal clauses, have to like give away their firstborn in order to get a home. So really the conversation that our team is having with buyers is that if you're thinking about buying a home, let's do it now. Let's do it before the major rush comes on. You can always refinance your mortgage, but if homes continue to go up and they're getting bid up in multiple offers, can you really afford that home? If home prices went up an average here in Minnesota of 6.5%, and then this spring they go into multiple offers and homes are selling for $10,000, $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 over asking, what is that going to do for your finances and your monthly budget? Just something to think about, right? And it's something that we need to really educate our buyers about. So let's talk about one of the chief economists for Bankrate, Greg McBride, is saying that 2 out of 3 economists are forecasting a recession in 2023, an actual like full-fledged recession. But when people hear that word recession, and not necessarily people within our industry, but a lot of consumers, when they hear the word recession, they start freaking out and pumping the brakes. Recession does not mean falling prices necessarily. So out of the last 6 recessions, 4 of them actually saw appreciation. In 1981, we saw about 3.5% of appreciation, but in 1980, in 2001 and 2020, we saw over 6% appreciation. So recession does not equal a market crash or a big crash. So out of the 6, so 4 saw appreciation, 4 different recessions. One of them saw a really tiny dip. So in 1991, there was a dip in home values of about 1.9%. So really, that is like nothing to even speak of. The only recession in our modern time where housing prices really dropped was in 2008, which of course we all know was due to the housing market crashing. So we saw on average 19.7% drop in homeowners values. I would say everywhere in Minnesota all of that has come back and then some, like a lot more. Another thing to think about is recession also does not mean doom and gloom in the interest rates. So of the last 6 recessions, every single one of them, interest rates dropped, which that's good, right? Isn't that what buyers want, is lower interest rates? And we're talking anywhere from just under 1% all the way up to, in 1981, interest rates fell by 5%. And interest rates back then were double digits. So to see a 5% drop in interest rates, buyers were like doing a happy dance. Fortune magazine has come out with a statement. They said you can continue to see interest rates dropping after the fact, after a recession, because it takes a while for things to settle down and come back to normal. So even if we have a short and a recession that's just sort of like a short blip on the radar, it's safe to say that interest rates will probably continue to drop a little bit. So like there's a lot of really great things happening in the market. And it's so interesting. About a week ago, I was in the car, and a lot of times when I'm in the car, I'm making phone calls and touching base. So I was talking to a past client and just kind of shooting the breeze. And he said, "Oh yeah, my wife and I were sitting in the hot tub last night and we were talking about blah, 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 like housing related stuff." And he goes, "But we're not going to do anything because interest rates are shit." And I said, Tony, I'm like, did you know interest rates have actually come down like pretty considerably in the last 4 months? And he's like, "Well, no, what are they at?" And so kind of just told him like what our lender was locking people at. And he goes, "Well, I had no idea." So the consumer, even really savvy people with, super fancy educations and people that act like they're in the know about a variety of subjects, don't always know exactly what's going on in the housing market. And that is really surprising to me. I think maybe I take that for granted because I'm in it day in and day out. And I feel like I eat, sleep, drink, breathe, real estate, mortgages, all of that stuff. But the average consumer is not buying and selling homes, and they're not in the trenches like we are day in and day out. So my encouragement for you, make sure you're putting out awesome content on your social media. We're always talking about the marketing and social media, but you really need to be the education specialist. If people are just watching doom and gloom on the news, they are not getting the full story of actually what's happening in the market. And right now, what we're seeing here in the Midwest is like good stuff. We are not freaking out and having this doom and gloom outlook. And we are really trying to educate all of our buyers, all of our sellers. If they have hesitation and they want to move or want to buy a new home and there's something that's preventing that. So if you're working with buyers and sellers and they're sitting on the fence, but they would love to sell their home and buy their next home, maybe it's time to like pick up the phone and actually say, "Hey, what really are your concerns? What are the things that are preventing you from moving forward?" Because with just a little bit of conversation and sharing like what's actually happening in the real estate space from maybe a stats and factual point of view, but also from your firsthand knowledge point of view of what you're seeing day in, day out, we're seeing it. We're seeing open houses are picking up. Multiple offers are hopping up again. I was out showing new construction a couple weekends ago. We couldn't even park in the parking lot at the new construction model house. We had to park on the street because there were so many cars there. And there's all these really fabulous things happening right now. Builders are offering incredible incentives. One of the big national builders, D.R. Horton, is offering $25,000 off the price of houses. And there's a good chance that they will even negotiate further off of like listed prices. So we are getting deals left and right for clients, and it really, really is feeling like a big win after the last 6 months that we had in 2022, where everything just seemed like it came to a screeching halt. So my encouragement to you, if you're a consumer listening to this or you're a buyer and seller listening to this podcast, reach out to a trusted real estate agent that you know is going to share the truth with you. Reach out to our team. We would love to walk you through what is actually happening out there. And if you're a real estate agent, it's your job. It's truly your responsibility to be educating people, talking to your past clients, talking to your sphere, talking to your vendors, anyone, any online leads, anyone that's thinking about buying or selling, to really educate them about what's going on in the market, because there's so much good stuff. So any questions, reach out, leave me or shoot me a message. I would love to have a conversation with you about the market. I love talking about it. My throat goes raspy because I'm talking about it so much throughout the day. But thank you for being here today. And I hope that you are crushing your goals this year as an agent. And Christy and I are over here cheering you on. So until next time, bus bench babes, keep your face off a bus bench and keep being the badass boss babes that you are.
Okay, girls, are you feeling as inspired as we are? We're over here cheering you on because you just finished another episode of the Girl, Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast.
If you want more, head over to girlgetyourfaceoffabusbench.com for show notes and more episodes. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. They mean the world to us, and they're what keep us going.
Girl, thanks for being here.